We are back for another edition of the Fight HQ podcast. Of course, I am Jason Floyd. That is the fighter, Pete Rogers Jr. We're here to break down UFC 326. Of course, goes down tomorrow night there in Las Vegas, Nevada. If you're looking for some combat sports action, Pete, I know you're always looking for combat sports action. Power Slap 18 tonight.
Hey, can we bet on it? I mean, if we can bet on it, maybe.
Yeah, you can bet on it. I don't. I feel like I want to know who won the coin toss before I bet.
I don't even see. You know more about it than I do. I don't even understand what that means. Who slaps who first? Is that what that is?
Correct. Whoever wins the coin toss, I believe they have the choice.
Yeah, I don't know too many people that would defer. You don't get the ball at the second half. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I'd want to crack somebody first and then not take it second.
You would think that is the case here, but of course we're going to break down UFC 326 from a DFS perspective. Also talk about the betting side of the situation. Also talk about the DK Pick 6 contest. There are right now there's 5 lines that have stuck out to me. There's one line that probably sticks out more than any other line. A part of that, so we'll get into that as these fights do go on. Of course, we do have our DraftKings contest. That contest link to that contest is in the description of the show. Of course, if you got any questions, be sure to line those up in chat. We'll get to the questions throughout the show. Of course, if this is your first time checking us out, we do appreciate you tuning into the show. Of course, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, that like button. Also, subscribe to the channel as we're putting content out for every UFC event, and of course we'll break down these fights one by one. But before we get there, we got to talk about what happened last week at UFC Mexico. Congratulations to Tristan Carroll taking the Fight HQ contest, scoring 657 points. 𝗵𝗵𝗁𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜𝐵 coming in second, and then we had a tie for third between DX371 and Joey Rock. Of course, when you look at what happened last week, King Green going out there and scoring nearly 136 points at 6.8K. Reyes 135 points. Gondra 130, which Medina, don't know why he was really questioning the stoppage in that fight. That's one of those ones. Wasn't the weirdest part of UFC Mexico? The weirdest part was Aileen Perez winning a fight and then calling out a girl who's not even her weight class. I'm sitting on the couch and I'm like, hold on. Cortez doesn't fight 135. I'm like, I'm sure there is some background story to it there as well. Damian, man, he looked amazing in the opening fight there against Schultz, scoring 118. Luna scoring 118. I'll give you a little unfortunate bad beat for me. I had a crazy 4-leg parlay of all fighters to win by inside the distance. I hit 3 of the 4 legs. One of those legs that hit was King Green. The one leg that didn't hit was Santiago Luna because, man, Pacheco, that is one tough SOB. Luna's just hitting him with everything. He just would not drop. Also, Rodrigues going out there scoring 111 points. The other 100-point scorer last week was Francis Marshall getting just over 100 points. Of course, the duds of last week, Daniel Zellhuber, Ernesta, she got to, I want to say it was 58 points. In that loss, and also Brandon Moreno. I don't know if you were like me, Pete, who got the plus 100 on Moreno over 1.5 takedowns. I'm just sitting there watching this fight going, dude, can we shoot for a takedown before the 5th round?
I played all the takedown props for that fight, and I couldn't believe that Moreno, I don't even know. I think it was more about the stylistic change that we talked about, going from a matchup with a dominant wrestler to now facing a pretty talented striker in Loner Kavanaugh. It was a significant switch up for Moreno, and for Kavanaugh going from Bruno Silva to Brandon Moreno, pretty similar, right? But pretty similar. Obviously Moreno's a lot better, but I think that's just like where, taking a short notice fight can bite you in the ass sometimes.
You think about for Kavanaugh, opportunity knocks in the sport, you got to take it. Your last fight, you get knocked out by Charles Johnson.
Crazy.
You get this fight, now you're ranked number 6 in the world. Great opportunity for him. And so That's why when you get these short notice opportunities, you got to take advantage of those opportunities here. Of course, with UFC 326 here tomorrow, we got a 13 fight card over on DraftKings. We got 5 fighters in the 9,000 range, 9 fighters in the 8,000 range. And Pete, when I was putting together just my initial lineup that I put in for the 𝗙𝐬𝐬𝐜 contest, of course, link to that contest is in the description of the show. I was kind of like, I'm sitting here going, okay. I was like, A, where do I want to start with it? And then B, I'm looking in the 7,000 range, and I'm like, man, there's some guys that stick out to me, but and I'll tell you, one of those guys that sticks out to me is because of just the way DK scoring goes. Cody Durden's the guy in the 7,000 range that sticks out to you, but damn, you're scared.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these underdogs, I'm like having to talk myself into. There's no like clear-cut guy where I'm super confident. So confidence levels across them all is minimal. But they have ceilings. They have paths to victory. It's just whether they go out there and they execute, or they go out there and they look to, expose a hole in their opponent's game, take them down, put them on their back. I think there's some value to be had. You could talk about the value of the main event in Charles Oliveira, who brings such a grappling and wrestling dynamic to Max Holloway at 155 pounds that I'm not sure that, he's seen quite yet. So I'm excited to talk about that. I'm excited to talk about all 3 Codys. You got Cody Garbrandt, you got Cody Brundage, and Cody Durden. I mean, you can make a case for all of them. But obviously from a confidence standpoint, it's not really high.
I mean, come on. Don't you just want to play the Cody Brundage wins by TKO or DQ at plus 1,300?
I don't mind that at all. I definitely don't mind that at all.
Can I just get a wins by DQ prop?
I know. Yeah, right. DQ only. So
I honestly, when I first started looking at this fight card, I was like, wow, Cody Brundage is still in the UFC. And look, I like Cody Brundage, and I talked about this on my podcast on Wednesday, and I said the hardest part for when I was doing fighter interviews is then when you come on a show like this, where I got to give my opinion, and even though that I could sit there and say, hey, I had great conversations with the dude, I have to be honest about it. Mm-hmm. And honestly, when I look at that 9,000 range this week, yeah, Donte Johnson should be the highest. But goddamn, do you think I'm not scared that magically he hits a strike that might be viewed as not legal, and all of a sudden we get a stoppage, and Cody Brundage says he doesn't want to compete anymore, and we get a DQ loss for Donte Johnson?
We've seen it. We've seen it happen. It definitely can happen. I also think that Cody has a legitimate chance to win too, because I wasn't all that impressed with Donte Johnson going up there against 𝗲𝗏𝘅𝗀𝘅 𝗛𝗏, getting cradled essentially and controlled on the mat for quite some time. And I'm not the biggest 𝗲𝗏𝘅𝗀𝗏𝘅 guy in the world. So, I think that Cody has a path, but, he's been more active than a lot of people. And he's made some changes, but if the going gets tough, sometimes, he's shown the door, and he's walked out the door.
Yeah, I mean, there's also some fighters you look at, and, when we get into the Raul Rosas Jr. matchup, that's a matchup to where I could you have one fighter who has not, competed in a year, being in Raul, but clear grappling advantage. But then you look on the other side, yeah, Rob Font, much older. I mean, I think it's 17 years older than Raul, but a clear advantage on the feet in terms of that one. Michael Johnson, Drew Dober is a fight that I think, especially in cash games, I want to get to, just because of and there is one side of that fight I prefer much more than the other, and really it has to do with what I perceive as a volume advantage for Michael Johnson, that one. And I'll mention something, and I'll get your take on this one, you being from the fighter's aspect. Michael Johnson was doing an interview this week, and they're talking about the older guard at 155, people like himself, King Green, versus the newer guard. And Michael Johnson, and I heard Kenny Florian say this week, he goes, in that matchup, you had one guy who came to fight, and one guy who came to compete.
Yeah.
And Michael Johnson was bringing up the point that he's like, yeah, all these guys, younger guys, they have the athleticism, but us guys that have been around, we just know how to fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. Absolutely. I mean, seeing all these new generations and you start seeing where they have the edge compared to when you were in the game, but you also see what they could be lacking. You start to notice like how things are significantly different in certain aspects, and where they have a leg up, and where just the entire sport has changed so much. I mean, I don't remember having being able to look up fighters and get fight footage on so many like you can nowadays. I mean, everybody's so accessible via social media and YouTube, so it's just changed everything.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But, of course, we're going to break this one down for you. Let's get right into the main event. Max Holloway taking on Charles Oliveira. Of course, a rematch. The first matchup taking place back in 2015, 11 years ago. And, by the way, Charles Oliveira hasn't won back-to-back fights since 2022. So take that one into account for this one. Of course, Holloway priced at $800 on DK. Oliveira priced at $7,400. Holloway comes in here as a minus 225 betting favorite for Oliveira. He comes in here at plus 180, Pete.
Yeah, so I think that this fight is interesting because it's a technically a rematch, right? They fought once in the past, with Oliveira suffering an injury off of a failed takedown attempt, as Holloway got a deep underhook and kind of pulled him up. I don't know if that had anything to do with the shoulder and neck injury that Oliveira sustained. He had some esophagus issues going on as well, having some surgeries. But, I kind of want to scratch the first fight that happened, because that's back in the day when Charles Oliveira had a little bit of quit in him and was always looking for the door. When the going got tough, he was not a good nail. He's always been a very good hammer, but over the years, he's turned into like the Terminator. So Charles Oliveira, even in 2026, is just he's very, very dangerous everywhere. He's not one-dimensional. He's able to strike with Max Holloway. Max Holloway has looked fantastic at 155 pounds, not depleting himself with the cut to 145 pounds anymore. Max looks like he's got a little bit more thud in his punches, a little bit more power. He varies his attack, goes to the head, goes to the body. And just his diverse striking will keep you guessing, and he'll start to break you down. So he's kind of a guy that'll break you down over time, not like a one-shot type of fighter to knock you out. Although, in round 5, you saw what he did to Justin Gaethje. You saw what he has done to the Korean Zombie. But like I could see Max digging to the body and just the volume adding up if he's able to keep it standing. I also think that Charles Oliveira can hurt Max Holloway. I don't think that Max Holloway's chin is indestructible anymore. I mean, he's been knocked out by 𝗚𝗲𝗄𝐻 𝗲𝗄𝗏. He's been hurt in other fights. I mean, Dustin Poirier hurt him in their last bout. In the Gaethje fight, he was stung a little bit, but Holloway's game is ever. For everybody thinking that this is as long as it's on the feet, Holloway wins. If it hits the mat, Oliveira wins. I mean, I don't think it's as binary as it seems. I think that Oliveira has more paths to victory here over Max Holloway. I am picking Max Holloway to beat Charles Oliveira, but I really think that the odds are off. I think minus 220 and priced at 8,800 for Max Holloway is a little much. I was kind of expecting this to be like minus 175. And Charles Oliveira sitting there at a plus 170 underdog. I think there's tremendous value because when he wrestles and grapples, even people that have wrestled and grappled their entire life, like a 𝗵𝗂𝘗 guy, a fantastic wrestler, was unable to defend the takedowns and got his back taken. We've seen Max Holloway being taken down by Yair Rodriguez one time, had his back exposed, taken down by Alexander Volkanovski, had his back exposed, taken down by 𝗚𝗲𝗄𝐻 𝗲𝗄𝗏, had his back exposed. Max Holloway is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt, and I think that his Jiu-Jitsu is good, so he may be able to stay safe. He may be able to, actually threaten with some chokes of his own, but I think that there's a clear advantage in the wrestling of Charles Oliveira, the strength at 155 pounds. I think that Max's takedown defense, typically sits at 83%. But that's at 145. I don't think that many people have tested it at 155 like Charles Oliveira should. If this is just a kickboxing matchup, then I think Max Holloway looks like a minus 200, minus 300 favorite, as he should. But this is MMA, and I think the person that mixes it together could actually pose some significant issues. So I disagree with the salaries. I disagree with the odds. I'm still picking Max Holloway to edge out Charles Oliveira and possibly finish him here. But like I said, I'll have some lineups with Max, have some lineups with Oliveira, and I don't know if this fight's going to go the distance. I have a feeling that this is going to be a pretty aggressive fight, and it's mainly because of Charles Oliveira. He will try to corral you, pin you to the cage, hit you with some big shots, respect his hands, and change levels. So I'm excited for the fight. I think it's a fantastic main event, and I think it has fantastic consequences for fights going forward. In the standings, and even though it's for the BMF title, I think that it just adds to each of their legacies.
I will tell you, looking at from the betting side of the equation here, Pete, the one that I do look at, and the book here in Florida is a 𝗲𝗲, and they have Max Holloway to win in under 3.5 rounds plus 185.
To win in under?
Yeah.
Plus 175?
Plus 185.
185. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, it all depends on what Charles shows up, right? If Charles comes out there a little too reckless, we've seen him get sat down multiple times. We've seen him, get dropped, and he's quit in the past. But I tell you, man, this is going to be a banger. I'm really, really excited.
My overall thought is, who is the aggressor early on in this matchup? And we've seen Charles get off to really bad starts in fights. And that's where one of the things that I stick to here. I want to bring up this question just because of, I think it's something that people are going to look at if you're playing over on FanDuel. By the way, FanDuel actually has a really good contest this week. I was checking that out when I was pulling the salaries for this one. It says, who's you guys fair for MVP on FanDuel, top option and value option? Let me just say this. One of the guys from the main event is going to be very highly owned in that MVP spot. And I look at Max Holloway and I love him in that MVP spot. I mean, the problem is going to be he's going to be very, very highly owned. I would tell you that I would look at, I really, because I had not really been playing on FanDuel in a while. And just because when they changed the scoring system, I just primarily just played on DK. But I look at someone like a Raul Rosas Jr. as potentially a really great play this week on any slate, just because of how that one can go as well. Mentioned another comment, safe to say main fight is a lock for fantasy. Either fighter will be optimal. Now look, if you're playing in a 150 max and you're putting in multiple lineups, maybe in 15% of your lineups, 10% of your lineups, get away from the main event just to see if you can get different. But if you tell me this thing goes 5 rounds and Max Holloway wins, just with the volume that he shows, that could be a maximum. And look, it would not shock me if Oliveira tries to pull guard within the first round.
Yeah, I don't think he needs to, man. I think he's going to, Max is a big guy. I think that he can literally do what he did in 𝗵𝗫𝐺 and go in there and body lock him, lift him up, slam him down, take his back. I do worry about Max. I was very, very confident 2-3 weeks ago in Max Holloway. And then as the days have been going on and I've been thinking about it more and more, the more I'm thinking oh man, and maybe it's because last week favorite Brandon Moreno dropped the ball in the main event. Maybe it's because Paddy Pimblett, dropped the ball going up there against Justin Gaethje. You know what I mean? All these hyped people that are the public's pick. I'm just thinking everybody loves Max. It's just a stylistic, not a nightmare, but Charles Oliveira can make this a much more difficult fight than what Max is used to, because Max is predominantly in kickboxing matchups all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and I would tell you from the betting side, there's not a lot that I would say I absolutely love. Here's an interesting one for you. Charles Oliveira, takedowns landed, numbers 1.5 Over is plus 115, under minus 155.
Yeah, well, I'm playing over on that, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm looking at his stats right here. In a 25-minute fight, you have Charles Oliveira landing 3.7 takedowns per 15 minutes with 40% accuracy. Means he's attempting 9.25 in a 25-minute fight. So, granted, that might even be like not doing it justice, because that's going up against Max's 83% takedown defense, which I actually think is largely due to the 145-pound success. At 155, I think Oliveira has a significant strength advantage in the wrestling. So, I mean, I will be playing those takedown props, and I love laddering those props. Like, I'll put most of my money on the lowest takedown available, and then I'll just add a little bit going forward. So, like, say if I had $50, maybe I'd put 30 on the 2 takedowns, and then I put 10 on the next 2 or something like that. Just that way, I care more about the small number, and then if they end up getting more, I'm excited.
And, just kind of looking on the Hard Rock app here, they have a same game parlay, Max Holloway win and fight to reach round 2 minus 160. So, maybe if you already you want to be a max better here at minus 225, that gets you a little bit of a better number there. Then our co-main event will be in the middleweight division. Got Caio Borralho taking on Reiner de Ridder. De Ridder priced at $7,000 on DK, $9,200 for Borralho, who is a minus 275 betting favorite, plus 210 for Reiner de Ridder. Of course, Pete, we talk about this all the time. We tend to always remember the last thing that we've seen of a fighter. And the last thing we saw of Reiner de Ridder was a guy who didn't answer the bell for the 5th round. Yeah,
I mean, not a good look at all. I mean, RDR has been known to quit in the past, over in 1. So he came into the UFC, and, man, let me tell you what, he surprised me a lot, because I critiqued him a lot about that performance of, like, quitting on the stool and not being able to answer the bell. Coming into the UFC, I was very, very skeptical, and I was a part of the group that liked 𝗏𝗁𝘁 to beat him. I mean, I had more faith in 𝗏𝗁𝘁 at the time than I did RDR. The reality is, Reiner de Ridder has had 7 fights since 2024. That is a lot of fights, and that is a lot of experience, and somewhat of a meteoric rise. I mean, for him to go out there and have, a scheduled fight with Robert Whittaker, of all people, and to sneak out a win is crazy to me. I mean, when you look at who he's fought. So credit to RDR. I mean, he's proven me wrong time and time again. I didn't think a short notice Brendan Allen would be much of a difference. I know that Brendan Allen is the better striker if this maintained a kickboxing matchup. But Brendan Allen was able to reverse positions and get on top and not be threatened. So I don't see why Caio Borralho can't do that. And Caio Borralho is a guy that I've been pretty damn confident in for quite some time. I thought that he would pass the 𝗵𝗏𝘶 test, which he did not. 𝗵𝗏𝘶 has turned into a very, very difficult problem for the division. I'm excited to see this matchup between Caio Borralho against de Ridder, or de Quitter, as he said at the press conference, which I thought was fantastic. The price tag for Borralho at $9,200 for a guy that's pretty cerebral, uses great fight IQ, part of the fighting nerds, breaks his opponents down systematically, develops a game plan, limits risk, which can actually limit upside for DFS. So known primarily for being a decision guy inside the UFC, he does possess power, and he does possess very good submissions as well. So RDR might actually increase the chances of a Caio Borralho finish because of how reckless and how hungry he is to go out there and right the wrong of his previous performance. RDR's already discussed that he's going to go out there and come out hot and aggressive, strike, throw big shots, look to clinch him, take him down, and either TKO him, a ground and pound, or submit him. And I'm excited to see what happens. And sometimes when you're going up against aggressive fighters, and then they hit that wall and they're unable to find the finish, they end up getting finished. So maybe 𝗏𝗁𝘁𝑚 is one of the leverage plays of the week, because I don't think many people are going to love the price tag associated with his DraftKings history. So I like Caio Borralho here. The one negative I can say is that the fighting nerds have definitely fallen from grace and have not been in the highest standing as of late. The drama between Ruffy and Jean Silva and whatever the hell else they got going on over there, and I don't know what's going on. All I know is that the fighter Caio Borralho is really, really good. I personally think that he's going to have too good of footwork to be corralled by Reiner 𝗏𝗏. I think that he can throw some pretty heavy leg kicks to 𝗏𝗏's outside calf, to his thigh, and throw some piston straight left hands down the middle, timing a crashing forward 𝗏𝗏, and possibly en route to a KO. So I'm going to go Borralho here at 9,200. But, I mean, from what RDR has done in the UFC, the 7,000 price tag is a little disrespectful. I was expecting like 7,500. I got to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely surprised me. By the way, I was just, as you were kind of going down your thoughts of fight, just kind of going down the weigh-in results. Weigh-ins currently taking place in Las Vegas right now. Everyone so far that has stepped on the scale has made weight. The one thing I find interesting, the main event's a quote-unquote title fight. BMF title's on the line. Apparently, you get a 1 pound allowance.
Really? You don't got
to Charles Oliveira weighed at 156.
That's actually a great idea. I don't know. I mean, that might have been a phone call. That might have been a phone call. Say, hey, it's not a real title. You don't got to make the weight flat.
Maybe.
Have they, for BMF titles in the past?
I don't know.
Have they had to make championship weight? I
don't know. That'd be a good damn question. I don't know. It's just
if
something.
Somebody's in the chat, and while we're doing the show, if somebody can verify that and fact check us, see if previous BMF titles had to make championship weight or not.
Yeah, but so far, everything I've gone through, everyone that's stepped on the scale so far has made weight, and both fighters in the main event have stepped on the scale and made weight. So we'll see what's going on in terms of that one. I mean, look, I will say from a betting side, if I was going to play something here, I'm looking at the decision props in this matchup, because I think this thing's going 15 minutes. And Borralho has shown to be a durable fighter. I mean, he's plus 125 or plus 400 on 𝗏𝗏. I mean, one of the things that I've really felt about Reiner 𝗏𝗏 in the UFC, and for people to not see him compete over one championship, compete at light heavyweight as well, to me, he always just looks so much bigger than his opponents at 185. But, I think there is also something to the fact of, having 5 fights in a calendar in a 12-month period is not very good in terms of that. Woody saying that according to ChatGPT, nope, they have not ever had to.
Interesting, Woody. Thank you.
Yeah, that's something that ChatGPT can be a friend for you. As someone who uses AI every day in business, I will tell you it's something very good in terms of that one. Apparently, we do have a fight that is no longer happening, according to Woody in the chat. So I will be in the lookout on that one. He's saying the Lee fight is off. So I have not, I'll be on the lookout for that one as we get into our next one here. Of course, that's going to be a bantamweight matchup between Rob Font and Raul Rosas Jr. This actually matchup was supposed to take place back in September of last year. Raul pulled out of the fight card due to an injury. So this is his first fight in over a year. He's priced at 8,700 DK. Rob Font is at 7,500. Font a plus 180 betting underdog. Raul at minus 225. And, Pete, this is, it's kind of that classic UFC matchup here where you've got one guy who's really strong in one discipline of mixed martial arts, and he's weak at another discipline. And where he's weak at is where the other guy is, that's where he shines.
Yeah, I mean, I love Rob Font. Rob Font's amazing. I think he, for New England MMA, was such a he was somebody that we all looked up to, right? We all kind of idolized Rob Font because for New England MMA, he was one of the first guys on the regional scene that got that call. I mean, I'll never forget it. I mean, fighting on the same card of him, then he gets that phone call to step in and the debut against George Roop, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, we've always been friendly towards each other. I love his skills. I think that he's got one of the best jabs in the game. I think that 𝗏𝗏 has all the striking skills to give anybody within the division problems, from David Martinez to looking damn good on the feet against every single person. I mean, look at the 𝗵𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫 fight. At priced as a dog, you know that if it stays on the feet, he is live to win decisions. He is live to even knock you out. I mean, he's looked fantastic if he's able to keep it upright. The problem is I just don't think that this is a good matchup. I have to tell you, I don't think it's a good matchup at all. And I think that facing Rosas Jr. now, after he's somewhat learned from some mistakes, is dangerous. I mean, it's a high profile name. For Rosas being as young as he is and being as good as he is, it's crazy. He is one-dimensional. Like, his striking's never going to be as good as 𝗏𝗏𝗏's. Doesn't mean he can't hurt Rob, because Rob's expecting takedowns. But the wrestling and the grappling, the levels are completely different. And I think that if Raul Rosas Jr. immediately shoots, he can get Rob to the ground, or if Rob defends the first or the second attack, takedowns 3, 4, and 5 are just going to be a little too much. And in combination with the jiu-jitsu, there's levels. And I think that he is on a completely different level in the grappling and jiu-jitsu department than Rob Font. Rob seems stuck on the mat at times where he can get controlled, and I think like that's a very dangerous spot to be with a guy of the grappling pedigree of Rosas Jr., the submission skills. And what I would do if he was at America Top Team, they would be incorporating ground and pound so that it'll open up the submissions, or the submission attempts can open up some dangerous ground and pound positions. So complement the grappling with dangerous ground and pound, and the kid can be an absolute problem. So if you are betting submission props, I'd be careful because of ground and pound, right? And maybe Font is a little too stubborn, but for me, I see this as being one-way traffic, and I don't know. Sometimes that's dangerous when I think that, because the opposite actually happens. But as much as I like Rob Font, I don't think that this remains on the feet. I mean, if it remains on the feet, this is the same guy that has a split decision win over John Matsumoto and Kyler Phillips. And Gene Matsumoto has great takedowns in his own right, but I don't think that he's as dangerous in the submission department as Rosas Jr. So I think that Rosas' value at 8,700 is fantastic. Lands 4.01 takedowns per 15 minutes, 41% accuracy. In a 15-minute fight, he's attempting 9.7. I don't see him having meeting too much resistance against Rob Font, whose takedown defense sits at 43%.
Look, I think you bring up a ton of great points there. I mean, one of the things that the only a little concern I would say I have on Raul is, what if you get all these takedowns and you're just not getting the damage? There was a video on the Uncrowned YouTube channel a couple weeks ago where they were filming at a judges and referees seminar led by John McCarthy. And they were talking about various fights. And one of the fights they brought up was a 𝗵𝗁𝘁𝗀 and DDP fight, the first round. And they watched the entire first round, and Big John stands there and says, all right, I want everyone to stand up. If you scored that round 10-9, I want you on this side. You score it 10-8, I want you on that side. Nearly everyone goes to the 10-8. There was like maybe 3 or 4 people. I want to say Chris Lehman was like one of the people that actually scored 10-9. John talks about it. He goes, everyone scored 10-9. You scored the fight correctly. He goes, there wasn't the damage for a 10-8 round. There was dominance, but not the damage. And you mentioned about that Matsumoto fight that Rob Font had. It was a split decision win for him, but got taken down 7 times out of 10 attempts. Matsumoto had over 6 minutes of control time. That, to me, would be the concern with Raul Rosas, is that if you continue to get down, but there's not the damage there. If you want to play a little dangerous over on the DK pick 6 slate, Raul Rosas takedown prop is 3.5.
Yeah, I like the more if it goes 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's I would say from the betting side. I mean, it's juiced up a little bit of Raul plus 120 to win via decision, but maybe if your book does have a takedown prop, that's where you want to attack with this one. By the way, Johnny did confirm on the weigh-in broadcast that Lee versus Bolanos is scratched due to weight management issues. That is on the Lee front. Gaston Bolanos had already weighed in at 145.5 pounds. And that's Michael Johnson. And we're about to get into Michael Johnson here. And he was asked this week kind of about, what happened with him with the Hernandez fight. And he goes, I had so many people in Vegas. And he goes, the hardest part was going to tell my mom. My mom flew in for this fight. And I have to go tell mom, I'm not fighting. Hey, it's not on me. It's not on me. Because the one thing about that fight is Alexander Hernandez still has not been booked for a fight. Just reading between the lines. That's all I'm doing. Reading between the lines. But from a fight aspect, I do like this matchup between Drew Dober and Michael Johnson. I think it should be a very fun fight to watch. Michael Johnson, a slight betting favorite here at minus 120, plus 100 for Dober. The line has been moving up and down all week long here. It's a line I've been paying attention to. Michael Johnson priced at $8,200 on DK, $8,000 for Dober. They're both priced at $14 here. And one of the reasons that, I mentioned earlier in the show, this is a fight that I liked in cash, and I particularly like Michael Johnson in this spot. To me, I understand where you might want to get to Dober because of the potential knockout abilities that he has, but I think it's about the volume of Michael Johnson, Pete.
I am torn on this fight. I got to tell you, it's 2026, and we're having to pick between Michael Johnson and Drew Dober. Not really the greatest option to pick. Michael Johnson's career win percentage sits at 55%, but within that career, he's fought the best fighters within the UFC. You go and you look at his resume, it is as legit as it comes, so you cannot critique it at all. Drew Dober's career win percentage sits at 65%. They have both not succeeded the greatest inside the UFC, but they bring it. They are exciting strikers. You got the speed of Michael Johnson and the volume of Michael Johnson, but you got Drew Dober, who just tends to walk through everything to try to land his big left hand in his powerful combination. So where the speed and timing of Michael Johnson is facing Drew Dober in the power, and I got to tell you, I'm interested because I could see Michael Johnson lighting Drew Dober up like a Christmas tree as he lights up most opposition with his devastating boxing. I just worry about receiving a shot from Drew Dober. I got to be honest, because every time I back Michael Johnson, I am afraid that it's just going to be one shot and the lights are going to go out. And we've seen it time and time again. When he gets knocked out badly. And Drew Dober does possess some power. He's going to have to not get damaged, not get completely torn up where his face is completely destroyed, and not get knocked out himself, because he's not the most durable nowadays in 2026. Just think about the McKinney fight, even the Prepolek fight. So when I'm looking at this matchup, I'm intrigued, and it's labeled correctly a pick'em. 8,200, 8,000, minus 120 for Johnson, plus 100 for Drew Dober. It's 2026, and I think that the people have it right. It's split. I am slightly going to lean towards Drew Dober, though, and it's because of the amount of times Michael Johnson has been knocked out, and the way in which he's been knocked out in the past, where it's not just like he's getting TKO'd. He's been knocked out in devastating fashion. The 𝗵𝐸𝐺 fight, the Josh Emmett fight. Those two knockouts are brutal, brutal knockouts. Drew Dober's been TKO'd several times. Manuel Torres destroyed him. Jean Silva had the doctor stoppage. Matt Frivola dropped him too. So, as much as I am saying that about Drew Dober having success on Michael Johnson's chin, I could see why people are thinking Johnson kind of stays on the outside and just picks his shots and stays safe. But for me, I'm going to slightly lean towards Drew Dober. I also think that Drew Dober isn't just going to box. I think that them both being southpaws, you could see Dober utilize his kicks too. And what I mean by that is a calf kick, very, very good low kicks in general. And, Michael Johnson, for the most part, is just going to box. He may offensively wrestle. But, yeah, I'm excited for this matchup. I think that it's a must-have. And I honestly think somebody's getting knocked out. So I'm going Drew Dober, slight underdog. But if you're on the other side, I don't blame you either.
One of the things, and my overall thought is I think this thing's going 15 minutes. That's why I'll say this. I like the decision prop on both sides. I'm leaning Michael Johnson. That's who's going to be my pick in this one, especially if this thing goes 15 minutes. I love the significant strike prop on the DK pick 6 on both sides of the equation. Johnson's 48.5. I want to say Dober's like 45.5. I like more on both those guys just because I think it's going to go 15 minutes, but I would much rather have the Johnson significant strike prop than I would Dober just because of I like the volume more of Michael Johnson and where you look at where Michael Johnson trains, he trains with a lot of these young dudes that are bringing it every day, and you do wonder, and look, I think Pete, I think it goes to both sides of this fight. Is at what point do we kind of start to see, really the age start to catch up to him? I say it all the time. Father time catches up to everyone. It catches up to everyone. It doesn't matter whether you're a mid-tier guy or you're someone who's been at the top. You think about the history of sport, Anderson Silva, Chuck Liddell. I mean, it's a rarity that you just don't see the downside of a fighter's career. But yeah, I'm gonna go Michael Johnson. Then we got Rodrigues taking on Brunno here. Rodrigues priced at 𝐴600, 7,600 for Brunno. Gregory Rodrigues minus 180 plus 145 for Brunno Ferreira. And of course, when you look at these two guys, a rematch between these two guys here, RoboCop has been on a nice run, Pete.
RoboCop's a monster. Diego Ferreira is a monster as well. The first fight, RoboCop, Gregory Rodrigues was looking good. But the problem with Gregory Rodrigues is his head just stays completely on the center line. And even if you close your eyes and you wing shots, you can land it on him, and he does get wobbled, and he's been knocked out in pretty devastating fashion, similar to Michael Johnson. The thing with RoboCop Rodrigues, though, is he possesses insane power, very, very good wrestling, and very good jiu-jitsu as well. I actually think that he would climb the rankings faster if he went to his wrestling and his jiu-jitsu, or his wrestling to his ground and pound. I think that he could actually climb the ranks pretty fast by doing so. He has to be wise to Diego Ferreira's Brunno Ferreira's power, because he doesn't want the same thing to happen here. And, even if RoboCop had good success early, he ultimately got hit with a big shot and got knocked out completely cold. The same could happen here, Jason, but I think the better grappler and wrestler is Gregory Rodrigues. I know that Ferreira's got good judo to him and offensive submission skills, but he's not submitting Gregory Rodrigues, and I don't think that he'll throw Gregory Rodrigues. I think Rodrigues is just edging him out everywhere. The durability is literally the only wild card in this situation for me. And I also think that Ferreira, can kind of fatigue over time. And I wasn't all that impressed with Ferreira's most recent outing. Watching him against Marvin Vettori, I wasn't as impressed as I have been against Gregory Rodrigues against Jack Hermansson and Roman Kopylov. So, I think Rodrigues rights the wrong here. I think at 8,600, it's a fantastic price. Either way, I view this fight as a must-have. Like, I view this as, similar to the main event. I feel like you have to have the winner of this one because the way they both fight, somebody's going to get finished, and I think Rodrigues is going to be pretty eager to go out there and finish Ferreira because of what happened in the first fight.
Yeah, I will tell you, when I look at this fight, Pete, I kind of feel like, in a way, they're trying to egg us on to take Brunno at 7,600. look at the value. But yeah, I'm with you. This is one of those ones I just feel like you got to look at, figure out a way of getting both guys into your rosters, no matter how many lineups you are playing in there. Then, of course, then we got a matchup at the bantamweight division. Cody Garbrandt taking on Xiao Long. Long price at 8,300. Cody at 7,900 plus 120 betting underdog. Xiao Long is a minus 145 betting favorite, Pete. And, I feel like why do I always find getting myself in this trap of Cody's going to turn it around? Why do I keep doing this to myself?
I don't know, man. And I'll tell you what, like I had the same idea and the same thoughts, and it's 2026. So never did I think that a guy of Xiao Long's career and skill set would be beating Cody Garbrandt. But I don't really know how good you have to be in 2026 in order to beat Cody Garbrandt. And the main thing is the volume. I mean, Cody is so fast. His wrestling is solid. But he's been pretty damn gun shy out there, and I think it's largely due to his chin issues. I think that he's worried about getting knocked out, so he's worried about getting into firefights and having combinations thrown his way. So he's super selective. 2.88 significant strikes landed per minute, 39% accuracy means he's attempting 7.3 per minute, whereas Xiao Long has 5.25 significant strikes landed per minute, 46% accuracy, means he's attempting 11.4. So, this is a very weird fight because I think the name value is clearly on Cody Garbrandt. It's an extremely winnable fight, but when I look at the data does not favor Cody Garbrandt because of the low volume. I mean, he's going up against a guy who doubles his output. And also mixes in takedowns too. I don't think that he's going to be able to take Cody down, but this is primarily a kickboxing matchup, and Xiao Long is busier, already proven to be tough, and Cody Garbrandt's KO ability has seemed to kind of diminish over time. I mean, how is the busier guy not going to be the more effective guy? I mean, when you're looking at it all, so Cody Garbrandt's 39% accuracy compared to Xiao Long's 46% accuracy. I don't know, man. I really want to back Cody here. The data projects this to be a low volume type of fight because of what Cody does and how tricky he can make things with his footwork. But I think probably the smart thing is to not play the name value. I think that's the tempting side. Like they're trying to tempt you into an underdog selection of Cody Garbrandt, whereas this guy, who the hell is Xiao Long? I mean, how is Cody going to lose to him? And I think that it will be a mighty fall from grace if Cody does lose, even in 2026. If he gets knocked out, that's even worse. I don't think that's going to happen. But for me, this isn't like one of my favorite fights. I didn't think Cody looked good in the Trevin Giles fight. So Trevin Jones fight. So to me, I'm going to lean slightly toward Long Xiao. But yeah, I mean, against 𝗻𝗲𝗄 Barcelos and against Deiveson Figueiredo, who had grappling and were able to get him in compromising situations, you saw, Cody is kind of a step behind in the division. I don't think Xiao Long's all that great. I mean, this is the same guy that lost a split to Cheng Ho Lee and lost to Su Young Yu, but I mean, Cody might lose to those guys too in 2026. So I'll slightly favor Xiao Long, but I don't blame anybody for playing name value Cody Garbrandt, but I think my money will be spent otherwise elsewhere.
Well, the one thing that scares you about Cody and just kind of, looking at his past couple of fights is there's just not volume there. And that's what concerns you. And, when you look at, since he won the UFC bantamweight title back in 2016, he has won 3 fights in his last 10. And when you look at the wins, Brian Kelleher, Trevin Jones, Rafael Assunção. Obviously, Assunção is the best win.
Yeah, 100%.
That was nearly 6 years ago.
Hold on. And then didn't Assunção lose to frickin' Davey Grant or something like that?
Correct. That was his last fight in the UFC 2023.
I mean, so Assunção, I mean, he lost to Davey Grant. That
Asuncao had
ain't that great.
Asuncao had a great run for. He had a good 7-year run. In kind of that lower top 10 in the UFC. But with Cody, it's just you sit there and for Xiaolong, this is that test. This is that test. Are you ready to take that next step in your career? But I think on the betting side, I think I'm going to have a bet on Cody wins via decision at plus 300, just because I like a little bit of the value that is there for Cody Garbrandt in that situation. Sam, do appreciate your super chat. We'll get into that when we get into the listener portion, the answer question of the show. Next up, we've got a middleweight matchup, which I believe I saw. It will actually be the first fight that will be on CBS on tomorrow. And as it looks like, not to pat myself on the back over here, Pete, I made a prediction Wednesday that we would get the White House main event on Saturday night during UFC 326, and Dana pretty much confirmed it yesterday. So, you just kind of put everything together. Oh, they're going to be on CBS from 8 to 10 Eastern. There was also another part of my prediction. We'll see if it's true. That the main event is announced by President Donald Trump.
Oh. Really?
We'll see if I'm right. No inside information here at all.
Do you have a prediction of what the main event is?
Yeah. Come on.
Can I hear it?
Jones and Alex.
You think that's happening?
Yeah. I will say this. I think Alex is definitely one of the guys in the main event. After what's happened over the last 24 hours, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Tom Aspinall.
I was going to say, what an idiot to me. What an idiot having him represent you, in my personal opinion. I mean, Dana came out and said that Tito Ortiz used to represent people and they got deals done. I get that. But I think it's a bad look. It's a bad look with the Conor Benn situation and all that, too.
I think there has to be a serious consideration from a health aspect. When is Tom cleared to just spar? I'm not talking about getting a fight. Just be able to spar. Like, that to me is a question mark. I don't think that what would shock me in this MMA world is if Francis Ngannou returns to the UFC. I will say that would shock me.
Oh, that would shock the hell out of me too.
I think if he's going MMA, he'll be with MVP. As they're making their foray into mixed martial arts, which I actually think could be a very interesting thing to watch in mixed martial arts, depending on how much they go there. But middleweight matchup here, Donte Johnson, Cody Brunge. We've already kind of talked about this fight a little bit. Donte Johnson priced at $9,500. Cody Brunge at $6,700. Donte a minus 750 betting favorite, plus 500 with Cody Brundage. You talked about this earlier, and I'm glad you brought it up because I kind of figured you were probably going to bring this up in your breakdown. But the one thing that does concern you about Donte Johnson is what did happen in that Cedric Dumas fight.
Yeah, I mean, we see it all the time. The odds, I mean, they matter to a point, but I mean, these big favorites, they get reality checks often in MMA. I mean, I think that underdogs in MMA probably cash just like underdogs cash in March Madness, right? Like, it just seems like that, where it's like, it's a fist fight. It's an MMA fight. It's a lot of stuff can go wrong, and you have to be perfect for 15 minutes. So when I initially saw the fight, I'm like, all right, you're going to have Donte Johnson like a minus 400 favorite. When I'm seeing minus 800, it's like, that's a completely odds made because of Cody Brundage, of his lack of success. I mean, but he's been super active. So I went and I looked and I said, all right, well, Cody Brundage has had 6 fights since 2024, all in the UFC. And Donte Johnson, to his credit, he's been damn active as well. He's had 7 fights since 2024. Granted, it hasn't all been in the UFC. He had the Contender Series fight, and then he had the SD Dumas fight. But this is a guy that's been active, and a guy that was a former heavyweight, essentially, had a complete body transformation. In his fights, the data favors him significantly because of the 6.01 takedowns landed per 15 minutes. Also, he's a threat to knock people out. He's a threat to submit people, and he's going up against a guy in Cody Brundage who is a breakable fighter over 15 minutes, and talks openly about the struggles mentally inside the cage. So I mean, I think the odds are a little ridiculous, truthfully. I do favor Donte Johnson here. I don't mind having small money on a Cody parlay of all three Codys to win, because I do think that they have paths to victory. I think Cody Garbrandt's path to victory is to, maybe his volume isn't of the 𝗏𝗁𝐷𝗁𝐺, but he's a little bit more effective and he has the cleaner boxing. So maybe he gets a nod over to the scorecards. I think Cody Brundage can wrestle to look to replicate what 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗀 𝗏𝗏 did to Donte Johnson by having him in a cradle essentially and controlling him against the cage. And I was immediately looking like, I cannot wait to fade this guy, Donte Johnson. And then, of course, now he's matched up with Cody Brundage, and I'm like, I don't know if Cody's the guy that I want to fade him against, So I'm just not high on this guy, Donte Johnson. I think that he's good, but he's green for MMA. I mean, he does look talented. He does look dangerous, but Cody's fought some of the best fighters in the world. So if you have any holes, he will look to expose them. But when the going gets tough, Cody backs himself up, and he's in the corner and he's just chucking overhands and fighting for his life and kind of throwing the game plan out the window. And he's talked about that as well. So if he was like under the tutelage of Firas Zahabi, I would say that Cody Brundage, is a good underdog, because he'd probably go out there with a wrestling game plan and they would look to really follow that game plan. But how many game plans has he shredded up and thrown out the window? So I just can't trust him here. He does have power, and Johnson's relatively unproven. He does have the wrestling that I mentioned, but he had the wrestling against William Knight on the Contender Series and, was doing damn well, and then just kept his head there and got elbowed until he got finished. So I think that Donte probably does something similar. Cody does look to wrestle, pins him against the cage. Donte starts to land some elbows to the head and then ultimately gets the finish. So, I mean, I like Donte Johnson at 9,500. I think that he's live to get a quick win bonus based on how upset he was with his previous performance too. He was kind of shitting on himself for performing that poorly against 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗏𝘁 𝗏𝗏𝘁. So sometimes aggressiveness works against you. Hopefully it doesn't work against him here. But as you mentioned previously, like Cody Brundage is always live to, a no contest, a disqualification, kind of to throw a curveball into the whole slate. So Cody Brundage at 6,700, I would definitely sprinkle some, but I think Johnson gets it done.
Yeah, I mean, I think Johnson gets it done as well. I mean, when you look at Cody and you almost look at this and you say for Donte Johnson, like this is the, it's a favorable matchup, but it's also kind of like, hey, this gives you an opportunity here. I mean, the only concern I do have is, if Cody goes out there and implements a wrestling game plan, which that to me is the clear path to victory for him. But like, do I want to touch that? No. And on the betting side, I don't, putting props and parlays is not really a big thing for me, but Donte Johnson minus 200 win by TKO KO is probably something I would put in a parlay.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. I mean, him submitting somebody was kind of, I didn't see that coming. I mean, you could guillotine Cody Brundage, but I think that he's more likely to KO or TKO somebody.
Yeah, I mean, Donte Johnson's going to be the pick here, and I have to imagine that a loss means this is the end of the run for Cody Brundage in the UFC. But
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, he answers every call. I mean, I remember Cowboy Cerrone was answering every call. He was known as, you need somebody to fill in. Granted, he was having a ton of success, and he was beating everybody. But Cody is a guy that's just willing to fight anybody. I wish they'd throw him a softball every now and then. Because if you look at who he's fought some really, really tough competition. Okay,
so if you look at his run in the UFC, if we're even counting Dana White's Contender Series, so that's back in 2020, by the way. William Knight, loss.
Yep.
UFC debut, Nick Maximov, loss.
He should have beat him.
Then he had 𝗏𝗁𝘁, who just one of the worst fight IQs I've ever seen.
Yeah, but he beat 𝗏𝗁, right?
Yeah, because you remember ฎ was just tearing him apart on the feet. I mean, just lighting him up. And all those guys like, yeah, let's go for a takedown. What are you doing?
Idiot. Yeah.
Then he got a win against Tresean Gore. Lost against 𝐼𝐬𝐬𝐜𝐿. Lost against Rodolfo Vieira. Lost against Dumas. Win against Jacob Malkoun.
He should not have lost to Dumas.
Yeah. The Malkoun was a DQ win.
Yeah.
Then he beat Reese via a first round stoppage. Lost against Bo Nickel. No contest against 𝗵𝗲𝘁.
I hated that because head clashes happen all the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't like an intentional headbutt.
Yeah. Then he had the first round victory against Julian Marquez. Then it's been 3 straight losses. Actually, it was initially a loss against Abdul Malik. That got overturned when he filed he put in paperwork with I want to say it was a Georgia commission over that one, and he got overturned. So it's actually listed as a draw on UFC stats. Then Eric McConaughey lost. Cam Rolston lost.
Did he lose to McConaughey? I don't remember. He did?
Yeah.
Yeah, he should have beaten him too.
Split decision.
So, yeah, I mean, you might be right. I mean, this might be the final fight on his deal. Say, hey, you take this one. If you don't win this, you're done. And then,
look, if I'm running, let's just hypothetically say 100 lineups, Brundage is in no more than 5.
Okay, that's fair.
How do you can't have faith? You just can't.
Do you remember when Sam Alvey had a job and he lost how many in a row?
I think it's a different scenario though, because you always knew Sam. You just knew Sam was going to go down and throw. Like I always say this.
Sam didn't do nothing. Sam backed up.
But you knew he wasn't going to try to go in there and grapple F you.
Yeah, but neither does Cody. Cody goes out there and brawls.
He should. He should grapple. He should.
I agree.
He should go out there and grapple, but he
Sam Alvey was in the UFC. He fought. No, listen to this, Jason. You want to freaking call Cody out? Listen to this. Ready? Count on your fingers for me. These are all losses. Antonio Nogueira, Jimmy Crute, Klidson Abreu, Ryan Spann. We're counting this one even though it's a draw. Da-Woon Jung, Julian Marquez, Wellington Turman, Brendan Allen, Michal Oleksiejczuk. Those are all losses in a row. How many was that?
9.
Yeah, how is that possible? And you want to call out Cody?
What you're telling me is you want to put on a lot of weight and take on Sam Alvey in karate combat. That's what you're telling me.
No. My boy Ross fought him, but yeah, no. I think honestly, I think I'm going to 55, man. I think that's what the next goal is. I think that is the goal. I mean, I really do. I think that's probably the next most, like, we've been talking about it. 45 is out of question. 70 is easy. But I think, like, even if you talk about Dustin Poirier walked around pretty damn heavy, making lightweight. And I just think even Max Holloway probably walks around pretty heavy, makes lightweight. Charles Oliveira walks around a little heavy, makes lightweight. You know what I mean? I just think, like, that's probably the most likely step and probably the best path for me.
As we get ready to talk about Ricky Turcios' question in here in chat, would be crazy to bet Turcios or Bolanos. Well, you're not going to be able to bet Bolanos anymore.
Go ahead, bet Bolanos. You get your money back.
Yeah, you will get your money back. But, yeah, that fight is not happening. And when I look at Ricky Turcios, and by the way, you ain't ever seen 146 on the scale again.
No. Yeah, no, that's what.
If you're seeing 146 on the scale, I got questions.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah.
I go, what's your secret?
I was telling Bree, I'm like, I think I'm going to go 155. And I'm like, I only got to be 156. Like, I don't got to be 154. I could just be, championship weight. I got to be 55, but 156. So it's doable. But yeah, 45, no, never again.
I'm going to be sitting up in Connecticut in that back room. Certain commissioner's going to look at me sweating over here going, God, I hope Pete makes 156.
Yeah, no, I definitely will. I definitely will. I mean, I'm not that heavy right now, and I'm not in, like, great shape, so.
You getting there.
These freaking welterweights are humongous. The guys that are welterweights are walking around like 200 plus. It's like.
Well, to give you an idea, Ricky Turcios, who is moving up to 45, there was a fight he had where we got the fight night weights where he weighed in at 136 On the next day, he weighed in at 156. He had gained 20 pounds. So, which kind of leads into that conversation of, okay, you got a 35er moving up to 45, not necessarily taking on a big 45er anyway, and Alberto Montes here. Montes, the favorite, price at 8,500 on DK, 7,700 for Turcios. Turcios, a plus 155 betting underdog, minus 190 for Alberto Montes. And Ricky Turcios, like, one of the notes I had written down on this matchup, Pete, is the one concern I would have for Ricky Turcios is sloppy shot and Montes gets his neck.
Yeah, agreed. I agree with that. I mean, I will tell you that the film from Montes, I'm impressed from the submission skills standpoint. I mean, I think that he has a fantastic head and arm attack where, you know, he will threaten with anaconda chokes in pretty devastating fashion, and he has a very, very good one. He'll hunt it from everywhere. He's 10-1 overall, and he's on back-to-back anaconda chokes. Carlos Calderon on the Contender Series, and then Kevin Garcia prior to that. But he'll also hit it the other way with the 𝗲𝗁𝘁𝑐𝑀 choke. So he does not discriminate. So this is a guy that I think has fantastic submission skills. So he needs to look to get the fight there, right? He needs to look to, not get into a volume match with Ricky Turcios, because Ricky can actually go out there and outpace most people within the division. That's how he was able to win the Ultimate Fighter, which is crazy, absolutely crazy, because he's fallen from grace a lot. Another fighter that has fallen from grace a lot, that was an Ultimate Fighter winner, was in the women's division, Juliana Miller. She fell from grace a lot, and we've completely written her off from most matchups, but even she was live in that matchup against Carly Judice. I think that Ricky Turcios is live here against Montes, who's relatively unproven. I mean, he's got one win on the Contender Series, and I think that this is a difficult, I almost said pro debut. This is a difficult UFC debut to be fighting the guy in Ricky Turcios, who may have not looked great lately, may not have looked like the Ultimate Fighter winner, but when I was, doing the breakdown for Ricky Turcios against Bernardo Sopai, I thought that Sopai was going to finish him, absolutely finish him. And I was impressed with Ricky's toughness. I mean, and he didn't get finished, and he was hit with some big shots. And, he made that into a dogfight when Sopai he's very, very technically skilled and is clearly the, on the rise, whereas Turcios is either stagnant or slightly declining over time. But, I think that Turcios' jiu-jitsu skills should be on display here. Yes, Turcios was submitted. He was submitted against Raul Rosas Jr., but that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that Rosas just brings such a difficult problem with the pace and the pressure, that even a guy of Turcios' skills on the ground, it still led to the finish, which is why I'm confident in Rosas Jr. over against Rob Font. And I think that Turcios is, wise enough to stay safe in certain situations. It's not like he has to worry about getting his back taken. I mean, obviously he shouldn't get his back taken, but he should be fighting hands and not letting himself get isolated for the anaconda or the 𝗲𝗁𝘁𝑐𝑀 choke. So, I mean, I'm in agreement with you. I like the value here on Ricky Turcios. And, just because Montes is relatively unproven, Dana White's Contender Series debut, I don't do an auto fade for Contender Series fighters, but in a certain situation where I have some questions, I'm willing to lay some slight underdog money. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Montes submit him. So for betting, I'd probably still play Montes via submission, because I think that's his only path. If Sopai didn't knock out Turcios, I don't think that Montes is. And I think that Turcios can actually, wear down Montes over the 15 minutes en route to either a decision or a possible late stoppage. So I'm just going to go with the vet in the experience and give me Ricky Turcios here, who was, prepared to fight a couple weeks ago, but Cameron Smotherman collapsed after weighing in. So, give me Turcios.
Yeah, you talk about one of the scariest moments we've seen in the weigh-ins, man. That was man. But yeah, you mentioned about those props, and it's like you're looking at my spreadsheet over here, because I have highlighted Montes via submission plus 275, Turcios via decision at plus 325. That to me is, if you're looking for a betting angle on this one, that's where I would look at the betting angle in terms of those props there. But for me, Turcios is going to be the pick. My only concern is potentially getting caught there in a submission. Then we got the flyweight matchups. Cody Durden here, and I mentioned this earlier, man. I don't know what it is with this dude. When I don't roster him, he goes out there and puts on a great performance. And things have not gone well for him in his past couple of fights here. But when you look at this matchup, him coming here as the underdog, price at 7,800 on DK, Pete, like you see the path. But I also see this path of gets off to a great start, starts getting these takedowns, really controlling the fight through 9 minutes, and then he gets stopped in the third round.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think that Cody Durden is one of the most live underdogs on the card because of his American wrestling, and I have to tell you that I'm interested. And the reason I'm interested is because listen to these opponents. This is just Cody Durden's recent run: Charles Johnson, Jake Hadley, 𝗤𝗲 𝗏𝗏, Brunno Silva, Matt Schnell, Joshua Van, Jose Ochoa, Alan Nascimento. I mean, that is like a murderer's row right there. That is difficult matchmaking, difficult opponents. And yeah, maybe he lost majority of those. Maybe he was doing well until he wasn't. But I think that each time you go out there and you fight, you take something from that. And I do think that you level up in certain ways so that when you are going up against somebody who is not as experienced as you can, kind of big brother them. And I think that Cody Durden's in a position here where you have 𝗵𝗻𝗁𝗀𝗻, where he's dangerous, but he's unproven. And, I thought Cody Durden's boxing and kickboxing looked pretty damn good against Alan Nascimento. I mean, Cody Durden is not afraid to stay active or challenge himself outside of wrestling. So, like, if he's having success on the feet, this is the same guy that had kickboxing and Muay Thai fights to stay active. So, I think that Cody isn't just a wrestler, and I think people get surprised when he starts touching them up with the hands. The issue is that his submission defense, despite training at American Top Team, that seems to be his Achilles heel. I mean, 𝗤𝗲 𝗏𝗏 was able to submit him with a rear naked choke, and we had Alan Nascimento submit him with an anaconda choke. But I am noticing some improvements because it's not coming as easy. And what I mean by that is he's defending initial attempts, or he's really starting to push through lazy submission attempts. I mean, Carlos Mota attempted a submission. Charles Johnson's attempted a submission. Neither one of them had success with that. Jake Hadley attempted 3 against him. He beat Jake Hadley. 𝗤𝗲 𝗏𝗏 attempted 5 submissions and ultimately got the rear naked choke. So it took 5 of them. So 4 defenses before he got the 5th. And then Alan Nascimento was slick as hell. It only took him 1. But I just think that the training partners that Cody Durden has, a part of American Top Team, you're rolling with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts and brown belts every round, and I think that it can only improve. Jiu-Jitsu is one of the easiest spots to improve defensively when you surround yourself with talented people. So you can get beat up, and as long as you're not getting bones broken, you should be developing. And that's where, like, I look at 𝗵𝗻𝗁, and I see a guy that has very good chokes. He submitted Peter Donosi in round 1 with a rear naked choke. He submitted Terrence Saitem in round 1 with an anaconda choke. But this is the same guy that lost a decision to Carlos Hernandez. This is the same guy that won a split decision on Road to UFC in a fight that I thought that he lost. And if you go back and you watch that Road to UFC fight of 𝗵𝗻𝗁 and 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝘀 Ram, you'll see that 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝘀 Ram was able to take him down 6 of 7 times with 6 minutes of control time. And when I watched that fight, and 𝗵𝗻𝗁 is on his back and not really doing the correct fundamental things to get back to his feet, I'm sitting there looking at that, and I go, dude, Cody Durden, if he's able to stay safe, not get hurt on the feet or get submitted early, Cody Durden is the same guy that beat Charles Johnson. It took Charles Johnson down 11 times 11 of 18 times it had 9 minutes and 33 seconds of control time. So, I mean, I'm on Cody Durden this week, 7,800. I think that one way or another, you're going to need this fight. This fight screams like a must roster fight because 𝗏𝗏 is very, very aggressive. But I mean, American wrestler going up against the road to UFC guy. I don't have to say much more than that for most breakdowns. And I don't view 𝗏𝗏 as like some fantastic striker. I think that Durden can hold his own, if not be the better striker, and then dictate whether he wants to keep the fight standing or on the mat. And I'm gonna have Durden here at 7,800 as a slight underdog. So I'm going back-to-back underdogs and Ricky Turcios and Cody Durden.
Yeah, I mean, look, I love the fantasy score upside of Cody Durden in this spot. I mean, that's where, especially when you're talking about someone who's got the grappling edge and is under 8,000, that's someone I want to get to here. So, yeah, I'm with you. To me, Durden going to be the pick here, but also looking at that TKO prop for Termy is at plus 350 is one of the 6 feet. Then we got another flyweight matchup. 𝗛𝗏𝘗𝗏 taking on Jesus Aguilar. 𝗛𝗏𝘗𝗏 priced at 9,100, 7,100 for Jesus Aguilar, who is a plus 185 betting underdog. And for 𝗛𝗏𝘗𝗏, Pete, he is minus 240.
Yeah, so this fight's interesting because I think that 𝗛𝗏𝘗𝗏 being a wide favorite at minus 250 is a little interesting just because he's not the most consistent guy. He's a very rangy striker, 4.48 significant strikes landed per minute in comparison to Jesus Aguilar's 2.65. And then when you look at the stature of the two, I mean, this is a complete opposite end of the spectrum. 𝗛𝗏𝘗𝗏 is humongous, tall and lengthy for the division. Aguilar is short and compact. I mean, 𝗛𝗏𝘗𝗏 has 14 inches in the height and reach department, which is extremely significant. If this somehow reaches the mat and maybe Aguilar is able to take him down, you have to be worried about Aguilar snatching up the neck of 𝗛𝗏𝘗𝗏 because Aguilar's got a great guillotine and just good grappling in general. But, I mean, I just don't know if Aguilar is going to be able to touch 𝗛𝗏𝘗𝗏, even if he's super aggressive. I could see 𝗛𝗏𝘗𝗏 being the matador and Aguilar being the bull. 𝗛𝗏𝘗𝗏 utilizing good footwork, good straight shots, good boxing, crisp boxing, kind of outpointing him. If he does get pinned against the cage, I think that, it's going to be like Aguilar's trying to take down a table and he's unable to get one of the legs out of the way. So 𝗛𝗏𝘗𝗏's going to stay grounded, fight for underhooks. And if he does get taken down, hopefully he does fundamental get-ups and technical stand-ups and doesn't resort to some weird, tricky, I'm gonna offensively grapple you now situation where Aguilar can counter or possibly submit him. So a little surprised with the odds, to be honest. But I think when you understand that there's a 14-inch height and reach advantage for 𝗛𝗏𝘗𝗏 and just the way that he fights and putting time in at Team Alpha Male over these past couple of years. Not sure if he's still there right now during this camp, but I think that 𝗛𝗏𝘗𝗏 coasts to a decision. So not the most powerful striker, but a pretty precise and fundamental striker that I think he can be wise to Aguilar's game and just outpoint him over 15 minutes.
And not a great number on the decision prop for 𝗛𝗏𝘗𝗏, plus 130 for him to win via decision. And we just know more times than not at 125 pounds, these things do go 15 minutes. Now we move up to the light heavyweight division. You got 𝗵𝗵𝘗 taking on 𝗑𝗫. Price is 7,200 DK, 9,000 for Rafael 𝗵𝗵𝘗, who is a minus 200 betting favorite, plus 165 for 𝗑𝗫 here in the underdog role, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, I am not a big 𝗑𝗫 guy at all. I mean, he's really let us down in back-to-back fights. I mean, this is a guy on the regional tape. You look at DR and you say, all right, well, he looks pretty good, and I think that he was part of a little bit of a hype machine, but he has not looked the part at all. I mean, he's looked like a shell of himself, and I think that DR is super overrated, and he was exposed by Brunson Ribeiro on the mat in round 2, and then he was also exposed on the mat against Uran Satibaldiyev via Ezekiel choke. So anytime you lose via Ezekiel choke, I mean, it's not like the greatest method to lose by. I mean, it kind of proves that you're a little green in one area or just a little desperate to get out of there. So When I see Rafael Tobias, despite being 22 years old, I'm like, yeah, he's 6 years younger. But this is a guy that's from Shoot the Box, and he's got 6 submissions in his own right, only been knocked out once. He picked up a very nice rear naked choke on the Contender Series. He has some KO and TKO victories as well via leg kicks. He was knocked out once in LFA, but for the most part, he's going to look to take DR down or counter him to get on top, and I think that's going to be enough. I mean, when I watch 𝗲𝗁𝘀𝗀𝘁, it's like, all right, I can't trust this guy. I don't think this guy's really good. I don't know if Tobias is like an amazing fighter, but I think that he's better than what I saw from 𝗲𝗁𝘀𝗀𝘁. So I'm willing to back the Dana White Contender Series fighter in Tobias, even though 𝗁𝘀𝗀𝘁 looked good earlier besides and before his UFC debut, but I'm going to go Tobias.
Yeah, I'm with you in terms of Tobias here, and he's actually one of those 9,000 options that I'm really looking at of getting to here. Of course, the next matchup we were going to talk about was Lee and Bolanos, but announced a little while ago that fight is no longer happening due to weight management issues for Lee. So, unfortunate for Gaston Bolanos to make weight, and now he's not going to be able to compete tomorrow night. But our opening fight tonight will also be at 205 pounds. Seems like we're getting a lot of past couple weeks 205-pound matchups. So we got Luke Fernandez taking on Rodolfo Bolato. Bolato price is 7,300, a plus 190 betting underdog. Luke Fernandez, he's priced at 8,900, Pete, and he is a minus 240 betting favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big Rodolfo Bolato guy at all. I mean, he's super tough. He has, some solid hands offensively. His striking defense is not great at all. His striking defense sits at 46%. So he's a super hittable guy. His jiu-jitsu is one of his best assets, and yet he doesn't really chain takedowns together like he should. He attempts them, but his 35% accuracy is just not good. So he's attempting for a fight, but I don't know if he's going to be able to out-wrestle Fernandez at all. I mean, everything I'm seeing from Fernandez is very impressive. Even from the grappling standpoint, Luke Fernandez comes from a very, very good promotion in CFFC, which we hold in high regard. He's coming off of a submission victory over 𝗲𝗁𝘁𝘁 in CFFC grappling. He also has a decision victory over Eric Anders in CFFC grappling. And I'm very impressed by both of those because Anders is a fantastic wrestler. 𝗲𝗁𝘁𝘁 is a very good wrestler in his own right, not a good submission guy, but it just goes to show you that Fernandez has skills to pay the bills. His hands look to be electric on the Contender Series, and he has the grappling to either defend Bolato's attacks or possibly offensively threaten as well. So I like what I see from Fernandez. I mean, the hand combinations look great. Just don't go out there and expend your energy a little too quick so that Bolato's able to work himself back into the fight. But, outside of, Fernandez throwing a kick and slipping and being underneath Bolato, I don't know how Bolato's going to get him down. Bolato's very, very tough, has proven his toughness inside the UFC, and everything comes down to this moment for Fernandez making his UFC debut. But, this is a guy that was undefeated as an amateur. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-0 as an amateur, and 6-0 as a pro, and 2-0 in grappling as well. So it's 3-0. So I'm very, very impressed with Fernandez, and I'm pretty high on him. I think that he goes out there and he finishes Bolato. So 8,900 I think is a very reasonable salary for him, and I think that he's going to perform pretty well.
Yeah, if you're looking to get away from some of those 9,000 options, maybe there could be leverage on the field. You know me, in that first fight of the night, for whatever reason, when I go big, it bites me in the ass.
Did you go big on it last week?
No.
You should have, because what was his name? Not Wes Schultz, the other guy. Piñas looked good.
True, bro. He looked. I don't know how much of that was more about who he was in there with, as opposed to.
It don't matter.
It was. I was sitting on the couch watching that fight, Pete, and as that fight starts, and I just see Schultz. There's no chance he's getting this thing to the ground. I'm like, oh my God, this is the Bellator human sacrifice hour.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, I think that's about what we're about to see in the PFL. Just saying, the PFL human sacrifice hour is coming.
You think PFL is going to return to New England anytime soon? I don't think so.
Well, if you look at how they are changing their business model and going to what I would describe as classic U.S. MMA promoter of, you're a national promotion, so you're going to try to put the best TV card you can, but you're going to fill that card full of people who can sell tickets. And
they're starting to do that now.
Oh yeah. You look at their Pittsburgh event that is coming up. Actually, they're going to Boston in April. I want to say they've announced a card for Boston.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I want to say it's April. They just announced their Sioux Falls event, and there was a lot of negativity about that event because it was announced as Logan Storley, which it's one of those things of, well, you got to understand, why are they putting Logan Storley in the main event? Because Logan Storley is going to sell the house out in Sioux Falls. There's a reason. It's they're going. Bellator Strikeforce type business model of sitting here going, yeah, we're going to try to put on some of the good fights, but also what we're going to do is we are going to put on local ticket sellers. And
maybe I'll be getting a phone call because you already know when they come to New England, your boy sells a ton of tickets. That would be nice.
I mean, look, BKFC has been doing it for years now. I look just in your area. Every time BKFC comes to Mohegan, what is it? It's full of New England fighters who are going to sell tickets. Listen,
you're an idiot if you don't have that business model. Even the UFC, when the UFC would come, to Boston, they're going to have New England.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right, Joe Lozon. They're going to have the New England cartel. You have to cater to the audience in order to get the audience to want to attend. I mean, most people are going to go attend anyways, but you have to have that hometown guy. Give them something to root for.
Because the reality is, when your initials are not UFC, you got to give people a reason to go.
100%.
It truly amazed me how many people who cover the sport have zero clue about how this side of the business works.
So I don't see anything about Boston. And I agree. I don't see anything about Boston, but I see Pettis versus McKee in Chicago in April. So I see their March in Madrid, March Pittsburgh, April Chicago, April Belfast, May Sioux Falls, and May Brussels. But I mean, hey, if that's what they're going to, and they're going to adopt the Bellator model, I think that is A, intelligent, and B, gives me hope.
yeah. It's the tournament model was not working for them. Let's just call it what it is. Let's get our straight up fight picks, answer some questions, and get out of here. Main event, give me Max Bless Holloway.
Oh my God, I'm so torn. I'm gonna go Max Holloway still though, but I'm telling you, man, I don't feel good about it.
By the way, if you want to watch a funny Max Holloway interview this week, go watch his interview with DC.
I saw
especially the part where DC goes, "I didn't realize your first name was Jerome."
Yeah, and then he starts calling DC by his middle name, Ryan.
Yeah,
and it's hilarious.
Apparently, DC's Uber profile is under Ryan.
Yeah, probably but he's smart though. He probably doesn't want weirdos saying, "Oh my God, Daniel Cormier is looking for something,"
Oh, of course, no doubt about it. Co-main event, give me Kyle Borralho.
Yeah, same.
I'll go Raul.
Rosas.
Give me Michael Johnson.
All right, we're different here. I'm going Dober.
All right, I'll go RoboCop. Don't feel great about it, but I will go underdog number 1 in Cody Garbrandt.
I don't hate it. I'm different than you. I'm going 𝗏𝗏𝘁.
Dante Johnson.
Agreed.
Give me underdog number 2 in Ricky Turcios.
I'm with you on the Turcios.
Give me underdog number 3 in Cody Durden.
I'm with you. Give me Cody Durden.
Give me Sumudaerji. Rafael Tobias. And I would go Luke Fernandez.
As well. So I got 3 dogs.
Yeah, I got 3 dogs as well. In terms of that one, mention our first question. We have a super chat here from Sam. Highest leverage plays in each salary tier. So when you look at the 9K range, so we have 4 options. I think the leverage is probably going to be 𝗲𝗲𝘁𝘀, but it wouldn't shock me if it's Borralho, Pete.
I think it's Borralho, dude. I personally do. But I think it's close between those two. I think it's close because 125er matchup versus decision machine and Caio Borralho.
In the 9,000 range, this is there's guys that I believe will be highly owned. Holloway, Rodrigues. I mean, could Luke Fernandez be that leverage spot? UFC debut?
I don't think so, bro. I think he's going to have a ton of ownership. I think the leverage spot personally is 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝑍, just because he's facing a name value guy in Cody Garbrandt, who we're not high on 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝑍, but I don't think it matters.
In the 7K range, I mean, Oliveira's obviously going to have a ton of ownership. I think Brunno gets decent ownership. I think Durden gets decent ownership. I mean, the 7,000 price to Ritter just sticks out to me because of the price point.
I agree with the price point totally.
Yeah. And then we only have one fighter in the 6K range in terms of that one. We'll finish off with some questions from the sword. Tristan, we just talked about some of those best leverage plays. Best takedown upside. I mean, look, it's got to be Raul and Cody Durden for me.
Takedown upside. It is clearly Raul Rosas, clearly Cody Durden, and I think the third needs to be Charles Oliveira, because if not, I think he's not using his skills the best way to beat Max Holloway.
Ranking the 9K options. By default for me, I'll go Donte Johnson. But you know, we both kind of talked about the issues there. Then I would probably go Tobias 2, Borralho 3, 𝗲𝗲𝘁𝘀 4.
Ew, they suck, huh? Those 9,000.
It's not a great 9.
I like the high 8s way better. I mean, yeah. I'll go Borralho 2, 𝗲𝗲𝘁𝘀. Yeah, Tobias 3, 𝗲𝗲𝘁𝘀, the last one.
Yeah. Next up, let's see here. Let's go Sam, Jason, Pete special. I mean, look, I think the first fight of the night, you take Luke Fernandez and move on. That's just my thought. And then the 𝗚208,000, you talked about Drew Dober in that situation. Favorite parlays. I will tell you, if I'm going to go favorite parlay, I'm probably going to start Donte Johnson wins via TKO KO at -200. Then I'd probably go, I would make the second leg of that Michael Johnson at -120. And then the third leg of that, I think I'd probably just go Raul at -225.
Yeah, I mean, I think Raul Rosas, the value is crazy on him compared to, like, I don't know. I view him as like a -400 favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like, any of those dogs, Turcios or Brundage, you pair one of them up, and then I think you're setting yourself up for success for lineups and for parlays.
The over-under number for Sam for finish is 6.5. We are down to 12 fights now.
I like it. I'm saying less.
I would lean less as well in that situation as well. I'm kind of there with you in terms of that. But of course, everything goes down tomorrow. Of course, we do have our contest over on DraftKings. Pete, you've got your Patreon page, and I know I get the email every time that thing is posted.
Yes, sir. Yep, I'm hustling over here. I'm trying. Just trying to provide a sheet for people to watch, to look at while they're placing their bets, whether they're doing it live, going fight to fight, or using it for lineup construction. I use it, and I use it in different ways when I'm just sitting there contemplating how I'm going to approach each fight from a betting standpoint. So if you're interested, click the link in the bio to join the Patreon. And if you don't like it, no need to stick around. Just cancel it.
Of course, next week we are back to Garage Warehouse Fighting at the main Apex. All you got to do is tell you the main event. It's at the Apex.
What is it?
Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos.
That is horrible.
Amanda Lemos versus Jillian Robinson, your co-main event.
Who?
Amanda Lemos and Jillian Robertson.
That's crazy. This fight. Hey, whatever. They're giving Kevin not a layup, but they want him to just go out there and crush.
That is absolute old school UFC matchmaking. Absolute old school UFC.
Josh is tough, but Josh is very, very old now.
Oh, yeah. That age is definitely catching up to him there. But, of course,
MMA mileage, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of MMA mileage on that one. But as always, we do appreciate everyone who tunes into every episode of Fight HQ. Of course, you can check out clips of the show in our feed on YouTube. Also, we'll put out some YouTube shorts as well as there. We appreciate show your support for that.
Minus 500 favor he is over Emmett. I mean, makes sense. Wow. That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to tell you that.
Ooh. Yeah, that's a big number. It's a big number, but we'll be back next week to talk to you about that. Hopefully everyone has a very profitable weekend, and we'll talk to you next week right here on Fight HQ.